This is In My Lounge Room, and I'm your host, Skye.
And I'm your other host, Damo, and on today's episode we're going to be talking about what it's like to be a parent, parenting, dating, all the things.
Okay. Hey, Damo.
Hey, Skye, how you doing?
Wonderful. I couldn't think of a word.
Yeah,
I was just Googling synonyms.
I was wondering what you're doing. Like, you suddenly picked up your phone. No, it's good. Like, it's fine. Like,
thanks.
You could start to use other languages, perhaps.
Sure. Yeah.
That's all good.
Okay.
But there's no requirement for you to like.
Bien, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
What's that?
It's good.
Okay.
In French.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Go with that.
Okay.
Cool. I'm pretty uncultured.
Okay.
Like, although I do know Japanese words for steel types.
Cool.
Yeah, and types of knives.
Do you know, I did Japanese at school, and I was talking to the girl that I work with, both in marketing, went to Freddie's.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all I remember is like, hi, how are you? And also, what's your phone number? So if I ever met like
that's important. Yeah.
If I met like a really attractive Japanese man, I'd be like, Demo bango one number desu ka?
I think the most important phrases that you can learn when you go overseas is where's the bathroom?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
How to say
That's pretty much it.
like
How much?
How much is things? Yeah, and maybe how to like taxi or whatever.
Yeah.
But taxi's a universal word, really.
Babysit is toilet in Vietnamese.
Okay.
I still remember that.
All right, cool.
I use them a lot in Vietnam.
Probably. I would think that asking for a taxi, if you just said the word taxi, that's a universal word.
Fine.
Yeah. But yeah, and train station, it's probably one, or public.
Yeah. Also, these days, Uber. It's global, isn't it?
Also,
it's global, isn't it?
It's global, ain't it? I'm also going to bring up here, and I have it. This is pretty freaking hilarious, right? But there is Google Translate has a microphone option.
Yeah.
So I can say into Google Translate, I will have one large pizza, please.
Oh, in which language?
I'm converting that to Japanese. So there it is.
Oh.
Right? So I would just speak it into my phone.
Oh, Okinawa pizza or I couldn't see anything.
Yeah, and
turn the
I
phone.
can. Well, here we go. I can just do this.
How good was my accent?
Well done. So my phone just does that. And so then you could just go, all right, well, cool. And you could show them that.
Yeah.
Written text, and it's written in
your
Western characters, Japanese characters, and there's an audio version. So you don't need to be able to speak languages.
So you know how I watched that crazy 90 Day Fiancé show? I'm sort of addicted to it.
Yeah.
Where the Americans either bring the girl over or they go over.
Yeah, that came up in my news feed the other day for some reason. I'm like, that's Skye's fault for talking about it.
Yeah.
Google's gone.
That's fine.
You must be interested.
I
heard
90
you
Day
talking
Fiancé.
about that, so you're going to get ads about it now. Yeah.
I always find it hilarious because these people will go to the Amazon where they've been talking to a Brazilian girl for the past 6 months, and they arrive and they haven't spent maybe the 6 months getting ready and learning a bit of Portuguese. So they just turn up and they're just relying on their phone to have conversations.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is so dumb.
Sorry, I was listening to you.
Yeah.
But I just got distracted because while I've had my phone open, I suddenly got a notification. I commented on a post on that stupid freaking relationship rules.
Oh, yeah, I look at that, but I just can't.
It's terrible. I should just block the page, but because I've commented before, I don't follow the page. I'm not a member.
I'm now following it, and now I wish I'd never followed it.
It is so it's like, oh, women should do this, men should do this, and it's like, no. How about all people do?
Humans.
There was one that was like, do men ever stop to think, oh, she's gone through so much, I need to treat her like a queen? And I'm like, no. How about you just treat everyone like a queen?
Exactly.
Don't choose who you're going to treat well based on their trauma or whatever. Treat everyone well.
This one, gross. A real man is going to change his ways for a girl he really wants to spend the rest of his life with. No.
No. I actually got into a massive... That's been posted before.
Yeah.
And I got into a massive debate with some people on that particular post because I'm like... Don't be ridiculous. If you have to change for someone, they're not the one for you.
No, correct.
You shouldn't change. You are. It's like this morning's message about Your sister.
Okay, shall we just quickly? I just need to bring up some news. Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson.
I know.
Split.
I saw that 9 months.
Oh my gosh,
Oh.
I'm so sad about that. So sad. Anyway, okay.
So
yes.
funny only gets you so far.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so how it happened was my sister has her first date tonight after 18 months of being single. So she and I are very different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all like blah, 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 blah. And she's very direct. Well, you've met her.
Yes.
The first thing she says to you is, "You smell good."
I did smell good.
I know, but usually you just like, don't say that's her.
I think that's lovely. I think that's a great way to approach things.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I love my sister.
As long as she's not going, "Oh, you're ugly."
I mean, no, she doesn't. It's not that bad, but she definitely is very direct. So
Well, you smell bad. A direct compliment is fine.
Okay.
But if
Just
she
not an
walked in
insult.
and gone, you stink, mate.
She probably would.
That'd be different, yeah.
So, but I said to her, because it's his first date and she's very nervous, I said, okay, well, maybe just with the conversation, just be all like, sort of like, oh, so I know you were saying that you did blah, blah, blah. And I was like trying to be all like go around and be more subtle.
Rather than
being like, what do you do? How many siblings do you have? Blah, blah, blah. And
Did you really think those shoes were a good choice?
Yeah. Because that's exactly how she talks.
Yeah.
And you said what?
I said just let her be herself because that will filter out the people who, like, can you imagine if she went in there pretending to be not that?
Pretending to be me.
And then some guy who's like, oh, yeah, she's so lovely and, like, polite and whatnot. And then, not that she's not polite, but.
Yeah.
And then in, 4 weeks' time of dating or whatever, she reverts to being herself.
Yeah.
And then he's, like, he scared the fuck out of him because that's not what he's
not used
into.
to the direct questions.
Yeah. And so if she meets a guy and he doesn't like her for that, then see you later, mate. Keep
That's
looking
true.
because sooner or later she'll find some dude who's like, yeah,
I
you
can handle
smell
this."
good too. Like she'll walk in and go, hi, what do you do? And he'll be, I'm an engineer. What do you do?
That's exactly what she needs.
Yeah.
Someone, there's no bullshit, there's no grey, it's black and white.
Yeah.
End of story.
And do you want to go out Friday night? Yes, I want to go out Friday night. Would you like to be picked up or would you like to
That's
meet
what
me
she
there
needs.
at 7:30? And she'd be
Yes.
like, no, I can't be there at 7:30. How about 8? And they go, no worries, 8 o'clock, Friday, we're going out.
Yes, because I'm dealing with the messages
That's
at
what
the
she
moment.
needs, yeah.
And it's just like, so we said like yes to going out and meeting. I'm like, great. She's like, well, what? We didn't say when. And I'm like, okay, we'll just message him back being like, where? And she's like, and he hasn't replied to the time. And I'm like, but he hasn't not replied. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't been on like, no, it's not 7 p.m. He just
Marika?
hasn't replied.
Hey, we're not making fun of you.
No, we love you. I love you.
But yeah.
Just
It's-
relax,
Just
chill.
relax.
Yeah,
It's cool.
it's gonna be awesome.
Because I'll let you in on a little secret. Skye used to do that. Because you said, am I like that? And like, no, you're not. You're not. But you've had a couple of moments where you're like, oh my God, this guy, he just didn't message me and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Skye, just chill.
Yeah.
Just don't worry. He's not your guy.
Do you remember when I was dating the American and
Mm.
I'd send you constant messages like, and then he said this and I don't know why he said that and I'm really confused and rah rah and you were just like, why
Yeah.
are you still dating him, Skye? I'm like, oh, because I just am.
Because
Yeah.
that was the first relationship that you'd had for some time.
Other than like, do we count the ghoster when I'd been on quite a few dates with him?
When was that?
That was before, yeah.
Yeah, but that was not.
That wasn't a relationship. That was
No,
like lots of dates
like,
that I thought was heading
were you
towards.
going and hanging out at his house and like?
Well, we did a couple of times.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
but
why
that was, but they like after the dates or were they separate to the dates?
that was separate.
Oh, okay, so
See
that's a
what I mean?
relationship. Yeah.
See
So if
what
you're,
I
if you're
mean?
hanging out with someone at someone's house,
I think he's dead.
yeah,
Yeah.
If you went on 5 dates with a dude and hung out at his house
Yeah.
separately, then you're getting into a
I would
relationship
have
with
thought
him.
so.
Yeah.
I felt like we were messaging and everything. It was very weird. Anyway, we've
It's fucking
discussed
weird.
this many a time.
Anyway, but let's move on because
Okay.
I thought I'd mention your sister in the messages.
Yeah.
Where did we come from for that?
Being yourself.
Being yourself,
Yeah.
yes. But anyway, I still lost my train of thought. So, relationship rules.
Yeah, relationship rules.
And changing for people, which brings me back to this post that they made. Oh, it's 1 day ago. And I couldn't help myself. I had to
Okay.
comment.
I'm
And I'm
shocked.
not just trolling people. I'm like, you fucking idiots.
There's a
Like,
lot of them.
So this post, and it's come from, people will submit messages anonymously.
Yes.
So the page posts it without
say
their
anonymous
name.
poster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, that's just dumb because you're just not having the balls to ask
I
yourself.
know, right? You just want to
but the
see what
thing
they
is,
look like then as well. And be
The
like,
type,
oh.
the type of questions that they're asking, they're like, I think they realize they're stupid questions. So anyway, how should I handle this? My girlfriend says either we get married or she'll dump me. It's been 7 years since we started dating, but I'm not ready to get married. I'm saying he never will be.
Yeah.
Ready is the wrong. He doesn't
And
want to
also,
get married. So what?
Marriage.
I love her, but she's leaving me unless we get married in 3 months.
What?
I'll be leaving her for that.
Yeah. Have you seen that Netflix show
Which?
where it's basically The Ultimatum? Where it's like 6 couples and they all go there because one has given the other an ultimatum. So then what they do is they all date each other. Then they choose their top person and they go off and live with them and decide they're going to stay with the new person or the old person.
Wow.
Welcome to reality TV.
Wow. Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
Wow, that's all I can
I
say.
know.
Ultimatum is the most unhealthy thing you can have in a relationship.
Yes, it is.
Unless it's you need to get off the crack pipe.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Because I will leave you.
That's fair. I think that's a fair
What are you doing with
ultimatum.
someone who's on the pipe in the first place? But yeah,
True.
that's different. Like, or you know, you've said a million times that you're going to do something about your mental health.
Yes.
You know, I
Yes.
encourage you and support you, but I can't live with this
Or
forever.
you've put on
Or
300 kilos. I'm worried you're
I'm
going to
worried
die
you're
tomorrow.
going to die. Yeah, it's
Can
not
we-
because I don't want to be
No.
seen with with someone who's fat.
Yeah.
It's I'm concerned about your health.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's kind of like, and the ultimatum is not that I'm going to leave you. That it's if you don't do something about it, I'm going to force you to, or
Yeah.
I'm going to have to change things for you. Like our relationship will suffer
Yes.
as a result of this, or I'm not trusting that you are. You know,
Not gambling online.
yeah, let's do something about it. But saying I'm going to leave you if you don't marry me is one of the most fucking shallow things I've ever
Yes.
seen.
Also
Now,
marriage.
I mean, I'm an atheist, so for
Same.
me, marriage it's just it's
Well,
a
you
legal.
know why I got married.
Yeah,
Yeah. We all know. It's because I wanted to be a princess.
yeah,
Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? I think that she wants a wedding,
She wants a wedding, not a marriage.
not a marriage.
Yeah.
She doesn't care because. Did we discuss? I think we didn't discuss it on the show, but de facto laws in Australia,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So if you're living with someone for 2 years,
You're the same, yeah?
considered a de facto, and you have
Yeah.
the same rights
Yep.
as a married person. Okay.
So I just wanted the marriage.
Yeah,
That's
you just
what-
want
no,
the wedding. Yeah,
I wanted the wedding.
And like, if you want a ring, you can have a ring.
You can buy one.
You can buy one, yeah. Someone
so
can buy
I'm
one
going
for
to
you,
have
though.
a divorce party because
Yeah, do
I'm
that.
doing my divorce at the moment. Well, the process. So and I might have a divorce wedding.
We'll
Is that
have
okay?
have a divorce dress.
Yeah, I
like
totally
a
will.
reverse wedding.
Oh yeah.
Where like you like
Go walk down the aisle.
yeah, have a
to
cake and
divorce?
everything. Yeah,
oh
yeah.
my gosh. Yeah.
And just
If anyone wants an invite, just DM
just
me.
full serious,
Yeah.
full
Yeah, to take
ceremony.
the piss at marriage.
Yeah, yeah.
At
Just do it
a wedding
backwards.
and do it. Yeah.
But I think that's the point. It's they want a wedding, not a marriage, because you have the same rights and it's a commitment. So I've made a comment which I'll read in a second.
Okay.
But another thing is, I was getting back to de facto law. So in Australia, you're de facto, if you've been married for 2 years, you have the same rights as a married person in every single way. Another thing I learned, I looked it up online and went to. Like, this isn't just some random place.
Yeah.
It's the government's
you
definition
didn't just
of
go.
it.
You didn't just Google.
No, I went and looked it up in government
Okay.
law websites and shit. So people, if you're in a relationship with someone, who you're living with someone or cohabiting with someone for more than 2 years, you consider it a de facto, even if one or more parties in the de facto relationship is also married or in a de facto
Ooh.
relationship with a third party.
So Polly.
Yeah, so the laws of Australia recognise polyamorous relationships and give polyamorous people in de facto relationships the same rights
As like monogamous.
as married monogamous
so
people, yeah.
cool.
However,
Yeah.
being polygamist is illegal because of the church.
Right. So
Right.
it's just the church.
Yeah, so that brings me back to marriage and why you get married. Marriage is a religious ceremony. And yes, you can do it in the registry office and make it like, but when it comes down to it, it's based on religion. And I think a lot of these people are religious. I'm not bagging religion. Go for your life. Like, you know, got nothing against God, but yeah, your supporters aren't that great. But yeah,
Not really.
go for your
No.
life. And apologies to the religious people, but I don't believe what you believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the whole purpose of marriage is just to have a wedding, and so you can have a ring and you can say, my husband, my wife. So my response, why is marriage so important? I don't get this. What's wrong with just loving each other? She clearly loves the idea of being married more than she loves you if she's going to give you that sort of ultimatum, right?
Did you get massacred?
I am getting ripped to. However, there's a lot of people.
Who are
I've
supporting
got
you?
38 likes on that. I mean, I made some post the other day that got 2,500 likes
Wow.
on some page.
Was it about Like
Oh, I
burgers
I just dropped in some common sense on some post.
Yeah.
And no, what was it? Okay. It was this cheese, right? It's like,
Yeah.
have you seen, a burrata?
Yes.
Which is like mozzarella with
Yes.
cream inside.
Yes,
And yeah.
delicious.
So there's this big thing called like it's a mother cheese or something. So it's like as big as a basketball. And it's full of cream and bocconcini balls. And so you slice it open and it falls open and all these bocconcini balls fall out and the cream just sprays
Sounds
everywhere.
amazing.
And
Yeah.
it reminded me of the scene from Alien where Ash dies.
Yes,
Right?
okay.
With all the little balls and all the milky shit,
Oh my
right?
gosh,
Which is one
yes.
of the grossest
Oh, it
things.
is, isn't
it's
it?
traumatizing. So I
a great movie.
posted a photo
Of
of
that?
that scene and went, this reminds me of this scene. And hundreds of people, like I said, 2,500 people liked it or laughed. And hundreds of people commented going, oh my fucking God, you have just ruined this.
Yeah.
Or people are just like, oh my God, that's the most trauma. Thanks. I'd forgotten about this trauma and you've just brought it back up. It was
It's a great
hilarious.
scene.
But yeah, so relationship rules. There's people just saying, but you don't know anything about the relationship. Some people agree, 10,000% came here the same thing. Child is to give an ultimatum. It's a huge red flag. Love doesn't need a marriage certificate to be validated.
Agreed.
And then this next person said, marriage makes a person to get in discipline. It's like a commitment where you both be faithful to each other. 7 years of relationship and he's still not sure means he has second thoughts in his mind or fear or he's just waiting for better. No, it does not. It means he doesn't want to be married.
Yeah.
The fact that he said, I'm not ready to be
And
married.
then he loves her. Didn't he say he loves her?
He loves her and she probably loves him. But Christ almighty.
Do you know what the problem is?
You don't
It's
have to
because
be
all her
married.
friends will be getting married and blah blah, and it's society. Society's ridiculous.
She wants a wedding.
Yeah,
If you
because
wanna
all her
have a big
friends
party,
are
have a
getting
big
married.
freaking party,
Yeah,
but,
parties are great. Do you know
I mean-
my wedding cost me $60,000.
Did you have that money or did you have to borrow it?
Some of it we had, some of it we borrowed, some we put on credit cards. Blah
Yeah.
blah blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
my mum paid for some.
Yeah. That sounds expensive though.
Yeah,
That's money we'll never get
and
back.
I'm no longer married.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going through my divorce at the moment.
Think about, and so what year was that?
2010.
Okay, so allowing for inflation,
Yeah.
what's $60,000?
Yeah, like 70,000
Yeah,
more.
probably more. Probably $8 billion now.
Stop it, yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
But also think about, so in today's money, what could you have for that money?
Oh, like a
Quarter of
nice
a house?
car. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a really good holiday.
Yeah.
Like
Several, you could go around the world
yeah,
a couple of times for that.
Yeah, pay for my kids' education.
You could fly first class to
First
Paris
class.
for $20,000
Yeah.
there and back.
Well, instead,
Yeah.
I had a wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we do these things. So yeah, relationship rules. It's a terribly toxic and they've posted 10 signs that your boyfriend isn't ready to be a husband.
Oh,
It's just a
God.
toxic group and all the people in it. If you're in that group, or follow that page, then good on you. I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do, but you've probably noticed.
Oh, I
as
was
me.
going to vomit at this one.
Yeah.
Marry a man who runs to God when you have problems.
Yeah, that's
not to
there.
other
It is.
women.
There it is.
Oh, God.
Marry a man or be with a man who runs to you when he has problems.
Yeah.
Why does he have to run to God? What's
God.
God going to do? Cool.
Oh my gosh, my sugar daddy has paid for me to have £1,000 worth of filler in my lips. She looks insane. I got a lovely message.
I was going to say, can we talk
Do you want me to
about
read,
that?
do you
Yeah,
want
go
me to
on.
read it? Okay. I got a lovely message, and look, I was thinking about it. Seriously, where is it? Oh my gosh, we send way too many voice messages.
At least they're not big paragraphs because if all that was in text, it'd be paragraphs.
No,
and
right? So
paragraphs
instead
to
it's just
scroll through.
quick
Yeah.
voice messages. Okay. Hello. I'm currently in need of a real and trustworthy sugar baby. All daddy wants is a good conversation and someone to talk to, and $5,000 in return, no nudes required.
5,000 in return as a one-off, or as
No,
is that
weekly, I
your
think.
weekly pay?
I
Yep.
will also take good care of your needs and get your bills settled, and I'll be giving you a good weekly allowance. If you're interested, you can message me on WhatsApp. I don't reply text on Instagram. If you're really interested, text me on WhatsApp.
Yeah, because then I can be really anonymous. Can you send me his number? Because I'm.
Okay.
No, you've already.
It's in
sent
the
it
yeah,
to
you
me,
got it. Yeah.
It's also an international number, so that means you don't have to meet him. We just have to send him nudes.
Yeah.
They don't have to be your nudes. He just
No,
said,
just
send me
any. It could be
nudes.
like
Yeah, he
anyone's
said-
nudes. Yeah.
No, he said no nudes required. He just wants conversation.
Yeah, just
someone to talk
conversation,
to.
and
He
he
just
can pay
wants
me
phone calls.
weekly.
I'll talk to him.
Anyone can.
I'm great at talking. But can I just reread that in what I would think to be his voice?
You read it in your voice. Yeah, the voice. Yeah.
I'm currently in need of a real and trustworthy sugar baby. all daddy want is a good conversation and someone to talk to. Yeah, no, sorry. Sugar dad, no, people can be sugar babies. Like, the people do it professionally. That's cool. Go for it. And sugar daddy, yeah, go for it. I'm not going to criticize people if that's your thing.
I get so many good messages. This one here.
I probably shouldn't have done
from
that.
Greg.
Whatever. Yeah.
Hey, Skye, I know this probably feels weird, but I'm a single man and I think you're a very good-looking woman. Would you be open to get to know me, Greg? With 15 followers and 0 posts on Instagram.
Oh yeah, totally. It's real, Greg.
Yeah, totally.
Greg's approach is okay. It's nothing wrong with saying, I think you're attractive and I'd like to get to know you.
There was one guy who just messaged me a photo. Where's that? And I chose not to open that photo.
Okay.
Was blurred. Like, it's like
Okay.
click to show, and I was
Yeah.
like, I am not
No,
opening
thank
that. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Oh,
But aren't they until-
Oh, here you go. TJ Split Saddington.
Message sent. Yeah, okay. But isn't that like, is that through Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that until you've like accepted they're all blurred.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, I know, but like this splits 1993. He's 12 years younger than me. 28, Gold Coast. Life's 10% what happens to you, other 90% all attitude.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
Sorry, I was just easily distracted today. So you have been going through some, ongoing issues with your ex.
Yes.
And then I was thinking about, and there's just various things that have made me think about, because someone mentioned something about like their ex-husband looking after the kids.
Looking after.
Yeah, and I'm like, I really hate that kind of like, or their own husband, like, oh yeah, I'm going to go out and my husband's going to stay at home and look after the kids.
Did I tell you my experience with Benjamin one time when he was a baby?
In what?
And
Yeah.
with my ex?
Yeah.
So we were still married then.
So obviously, yeah.
And I had to go and do a social media course. I had to
Okay,
run it with like 30 people.
Yeah.
It was at 6 p.m. Anyway, at this point, he says to me, oh, I can't do both. And Benjamin must have been 5 months old. He said, I can't do both of them. I'm like, what? He's like, oh, I can't do both of them at bedtime. I'm like, okay. So what do you mean? And he's like, you're going to have to take Benjamin with you. I'm like, I'm running a course for my business, my business, my like reputation.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll call your mum. And I'm like, I think mum's busy. So I called her. She's like, no, I'm busy. And I'm like, okay, well, you're going to have to do both of them. Like, look after both, be a dad.
Is he from 1920?
I don't know. Anyway, he goes to me, I can't. You have to call your dad. So I had to call my dad and be like, Dad, no, first of all, I put it on Facebook going, can anyone watch Benjamin? Because Adrian can't watch both of them. I literally put that. I was so angry.
Can you go to my house and assist him in being a normal
dad?
Just being a normal human being?
So my dad, who like had spent a bit of time with Benjamin, but he was still 5 months. He and his partner Jackie, she and he had to watch Benjamin for like 3 hours, and I literally handed him, and then he pretty much cried for 2 hours with them because he'd just been handed, and I just left, and like
I just don't get that kind of. But then again, why a man?
Why a man?
Why do a man?
Why? Yeah, but that's an example of him not being able to handle. Like, I had them all the time, the two of them. That was my job because mother.
I mean, I only have one, but for years, even when her mum and I were together, where I was like, well, I mean, I don't know if I told you this story, but when Billy's mum was breastfeeding, which she didn't do for very long because it just wasn't working for her. But in the first couple of weeks of Billy being at home, she couldn't sleep at night with Billy because you have him in like bassinet next to you in the bedroom when you first get him home. She couldn't sleep because any noise, like the wind blowing, would wake her up because she's like on high alert. And she needed her sleep. She's a new mum. And so she was like, I'm going to sleep on the couch because I can't be in the same room. And so when she wakes up for the 2 a.m. feed, I'm like, cool, I can bring her out to you.
Wow.
So what I was doing is like, she'd wake up, I'd wake up, I'd get Billy, I'd go out to her mum on the couch, and I'd like, without waking her up, put her on the boob.
Oh, wow. You rock. You officially rock.
Hold her there.
Yeah.
Till she'd finished feeding.
Yeah.
and then burp her and put her back to bed.
Wow.
And half the time, my mum didn't even wake up,
is very
right?
cool.
Because she would wake up, but then she kind of realised what was going on, and she'd kind of, and be laying there. Oh, and then it got to the point where it was like when she was on the bottle, well,
You just do it.
I'd just do it. Like, and we'd take turns. Like, and I know, like, and you see those memes or those comedies where, like, it's, like, wake up, the baby's crying or whatever. It's like, no, like, it's just, you just do it. Whoever wakes up, do it.
So when Joshua was 9 weeks old, I had breast abscesses, so I had to have them drained, and it was very dramatic. I had to go to hospital, spend 2 nights there. Yeah. So at that point, Joshua went off the boob onto bottle. I had a baby in the hospital with me for 2 nights.
Because he couldn't do it.
Correct.
It's just ridiculous. Because I used to, like, because her mum wanted to get back to work because we had to survive. So, yeah, I mean, it just meant that I'm cooking dinner every night. I mean, I love cooking, of course, but, like, I'm cooking dinner every night. I'm doing the meal prepping on the weekend and, like, making sure that her mum could sleep and had time to herself because she's doing, like, I mean, even though I'm the dad, realistically, I don't have to breastfeed. I don't have the, all the physical and the mental demands of being a new mum. Like, you don't
It's
go,
exhausting.
like, men don't go through postpartum depression. We might get a little bit stressed out, but we don't have that drain of our hormones being completely destroyed for 6 months and then all of that stuff. And, like, we don't go through that.
No.
We don't have the physical problems, like, when you have a vaginal birth, like the physical trauma of that. And then the aftermath of that. I don't have to deal with walking around with surfboards between my legs for weeks, It's...
I had major surgery twice.
Exactly. You had cesarean. So you'd have been cut open.
And keep in mind, the second time I had a newborn and a toddler.
Yeah.
And my ex went on a 3-day bender when Benjamin was 5 weeks old.
What a champ. Yeah.
Look, I don't want this to be attack my ex.
No.
But, and I'm sure he has stories about what a terrible ex I was.
Yeah, but I'm just using examples because I think what I'm getting at is we're all parents, and I just don't like that concept of, like, babysitting the kids, or I have to look after the kids. And it's not about, like, just your ex or whatever.
Yeah.
But it does make me think about when people are separated, because when I meet people, and now it's different because now Billy's mum and I, because she's been able to adjust to her work, so we're 50-50.
Yeah.
But we still help each other out above that.
See, that's awesome.
So, like, when Billy's mum's on morning shift, okay, Billy stays here, but she finishes at 1:30 in the afternoon. So she picks her up from school, takes her home, does her homework with her, gets her organised, and then drops her off here at about 6 o'clock at night. And then we hang out and she goes to bed and she sleeps here.
That sounds great.
And it's easy because we support each other. And, like, she'll be like, oh, I have to work nights this week, an extra night, or I have to work on Sunday. Can you pick Billy up? Can you take Billy? And I'm like, no worries at all, because I already know that it's absolutely equal between us. But for 6 years after we separated, I had Billy 11 nights a fortnight.
Yeah.
Right. Now, when I was doing that, when I would meet people and I go, oh, yeah, single parent. Oh, yeah. Oh, cool. And then they just they automatically assume I have them on the weekends or every second weekend or something. And so I said, oh, yeah, cool. So, what's your split kind of thing? And I go, oh, I have her 11 days out of 14. And they're like, what? That's like
Jaw drop.
Like, that's like 90% of the time. And I'm like, yeah. And then the next question is, why? Where's the mum? What's wrong with her?
What about just like, cool?
No, not what's wrong. Nothing's wrong with her. She's got a job that means that she can't be at home. And if I was to and they were made, it was very hard for her. She was being made to do these shifts. Now, if I tried to force, no, we're going 50-50, on the days when it was her week, she would have to be working night shift. So
she have to get like a living nanny.
She have to get a nanny.
Yeah.
And so all she would be doing is getting her up for school in the morning.
Which isn't
for a week.
Parent. Yeah.
And
that was spending money on a living nanny.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can't do that. And plus, because she earned more money than me, she had to pay me child support, which I'm like, I don't want your money. Because I was getting family tax benefit where she wasn't, because I was a primary carer. So I'm getting $250 a fortnight from the government for family tax benefit back then. And she's not, just because she's earning more than me. Yeah. And that kind of it didn't close the gap. But the childcare assessment was $53 a month anyway. So I just said, look, I'll collect it privately.
Yeah.
And then I said to her, I don't want your $53.
Yeah, it's so crazy,
You just
isn't it?
spend that on Billy.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's
Yeah.
because I know that you're spending more than $53 a month
Yeah.
to co-parent. Like, even if it was only 3 days a fortnight that she had her, or 3 nights, she's still putting in more than $53 a month.
I don't know how
worth.
they calculate it. It's so
And I was
crazy.
just like, that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Whereas then I was talking to some people like, yeah, my bastard ex, he's got to pay me $500 a month and he's not paying, and man, God, I need that money. And I'm like, okay, like, is that the most important thing in your life, is the money?
It is when they're not working.
Yeah.
And like, you know, spending it on whatever they're spending it on.
And I've got
Botox
4
or-
kids. And
yeah.
not criticizing that, but, you know, it's just like there's more important things to life than money. You can work it out. So then that then brings me to, as I said, that split care thing where people just like, yeah, what's wrong with her? Why isn't she doing it? And the expectations that men just don't do what I do.
Not well. My ex, he has them every second weekend, but I don't think he has plans to do more. But I'm not sure.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
And that's very common. Like, and I know that it comes down to, I think about the reasons, because I don't experience this, but I know that a lot of people do. There can only be a couple of reasons as why a parent, and let's not talk mums or dads, let's just say a parent, right?
Yep.
Doesn't have their child more than once a fortnight or more than 1 day a week, right? It's either they don't want to or they're not allowed to.
And they're not allowed to thing. So I had a friend. She was from another country, married an Australian, had a baby, and then they split. And she pretty much wanted to stop him, and she wanted to move back to where she was from. She just didn't want him. And she went to court, and in the end the courts were like, no, this child was born in Australia and has a parent. You can do 50-50. She was angry because she was like, well, no, I don't want that. I'm like, well, you chose to marry an American. An Australian.
And that's the thing. It's either that the individual doesn't want them to have the child from spite.
Yeah, it's spite.
Or the other parent has issues. Right? So if there's abuse or drug issues and the court says, no, you're not fit, that's different. But if it's just, no, I just don't want you to have them.
It's usually spite.
That is messed up.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that, I'm not, and you know what? I guarantee there's listeners of this show who do that, who are like, I don't want my ex-husband to have them more than 3 times a week. You know, like, why not? What's wrong with them?
Yeah.
And then the other one is, I don't want them because it's going to interfere with my job or my social life.
Social life is a big thing, I think. It's really hard, like, even from a dating perspective, when you're like, yeah, I'm a single mum and I have like 2 nights a fortnight.
Yeah.
And sometimes those 2 nights a fortnight, I want to hang out with my friends. I don't want to date. So
remember this, there's this person that we knew a couple of years ago, I'm not going to say his name, but who was going through some custody issues, right? And he only had his child once a fortnight, once a month.
Yeah.
I
know who you're talking about.
And so once a fortnight, whatever it was, or once a week. But
and
then
it was an incident, wasn't there?
I'm not going to go into it because
Okay.
it's not like I don't want to speculate on things I'm not too
that's
sure
fine.
about.
Don't
My
speculate.
memory's not that great on this particular thing. But there were instances where he's going on about how he wants to prove that he's going to be a great dad so he can get better custody because his ex wanted to like take her away and move town.
To the east,
yeah. And he's like, no, I want to show. Yet then he puts a photo on social media of him and his mates doing shots.
I remember this.
And in the background, his daughter's just sitting on the couch. Reading
on an
iPad or something.
Yeah.
And she's like 4 or 5, like little girl. And him and his mates are sitting at the table doing shots and drinking beers.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
smoking stuff.
yeah,
as
there
well.
was a bong there, yeah. But anyway, so it was, I'm just kind of going, and you're wondering why people are criticizing you.
Right.
But that's what you portray. I think you need to kind of have a think about that. But then he was also in his every second weekend he had her, he'd pick her up on Friday night and then go and drop her at his mum's
Yes.
on Saturday morning and then pick her up from his mum's on Sunday and then take her back to his
So had he
ex's.
really spent any time?
No, he's not. And the time that he was spending, he's drinking with his mates.
I know. So he doesn't. So it's all talk, no action.
I mean,
right?
and that might have been an isolated incident, but put it on social media, people are going to go, what?
Of course.
I mean, because that's what you see.
But
it's
then
just like
he'd always put photos of them like, look at me and my princess, and yet to make himself look amazing, but really.
And we could do that, yeah.
Yeah.
That brings me back to that relationship rules post where people going, one person was like, you don't know their full story, you know, it's different for everyone and their reasons for getting married. And I'm like, yeah, but my response is based on the limited information. But yeah, like you don't know their reasons and there could be more to the story. And I'm like, yeah, well then put more in the story because on the two sentences in this paragraph
She
that you've
sounds
said,
like a bitch.
she just sounds shallow. And I'm going to call her shallow. And secondly, this is a public post and this is the internet and I'm going to use it however the hell I want.
Exactly.
You use it how you want.
Yeah.
And I am going to use it to criticize you fucking idiots because like don't be stupid. Like but anyway, we've moved on from that. But
So-
back to so the forced not to have the kids or the not wanting to have the kids.
I think then there's sometimes there are sad moments. Like I know I was the German. He was really struggling to get more custody. Some of the messages she would send, like he was meant to call at certain times, and he called another time, and she's like, "No, I'm not answering the phone because it's not your allocated time." And he's like, "I just want to talk to the children," like. And then, like, they were meant to go camping, but then because it wasn't, I don't know. And it's just some of the stories, and I'd see the messages, and I'd be like, "Holy manoli!"
Yeah,
like
unless you're getting both sides of the story. That's what I mean. When you see, but until you see those messages, you go, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, and I did. I saw, and they were like super aggressive, like just wanting to call your children. You should be allowed to call your children whenever you want.
Yeah, the things I could talk about that I'm not allowed to talk about as well.
I'm
sure. There's shit that I've seen through the course of the work that I do.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, I feel like slapping people and just going,
People are
wake
idiots.
up to yourself.
Yeah. Selfish.
The way that people talk to each other, it's just disgusting sometimes. But yeah, I also, I had another thought when it comes to parenting with with the people not being, I had an example. So a friend of mine who, when he separated from his partner, when his son was like 3, he didn't see him for like 3 months, right? Yeah. They were going through some heavy shit, but then he really wanted to see him. So like he had to fight through the courts. Now he eventually was awarded full custody in the courts, right? Okay. Because basically it came out that she was not fit at that time, right? She's better now. She's fine now. But but at the time she was not fit and the courts deemed that. And it brings me to that whole misconception where a lot of times it's men who will just whinge about the family courts being biased towards women. It's really not. It's like if you are fit, you are the parent who has a stable job or a family support, doesn't have drug problems, and it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. The people who are whinging about the bias in the family courts
are the ones that are useless.
Yeah, and it's like the men who complain, "Oh, it's not all men." It's like, well, is it you then? You know, why are you worried about me saying someone's stupid if you don't think you're stupid?
I think it's sometimes these FIFO men, not having got FIFO, but you can't do 50-50 custody if you're doing a 3-in-1 suite.
No, you can't.
So you're going to have to only see them either that 1 week when you're home and then, or whatever. Like you can't physically do full custody. So
So this guy, right, he then met a girl, like, a couple of years later, who she's from New Zealand, right? And she's been living in Western Australia for some time. She got pregnant and he was like, "Oh, cool, another baby, do the right thing." But then they had a big fight and she's just gone, "You know what, screw you, I'm moving back to New Zealand." And just up and moved back to New Zealand while she was pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
And then so he's like, well, can't stop her. Because it's not, they didn't have the child. I don't know.
No, different when there's a child. Yeah, if the child had been born.
She's pregnant. She didn't even have to tell anyone she was pregnant.
No,
she just get on a
she
plane
just
and
get
go.
on a plane.
Yeah. And so eventually, like 2-3 years later, her mum has contacted him and just gone, I think Like, because, I've found out where you are and who you are and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you want to have contact with his son? And he's like, oh, yes, please.
Yeah, wow.
Because she was not even prepared to tell her son that he had a dad.
That's so sad.
Like, was keeping him, wouldn't tell him who he was, where he's from,
disgusting.
anything about him. And so eventually this friend, through the grandmother, has been able to have like video calls with him.
Good.
And like, so he knows that he exists and he knows that he's not a terrible person. It's that it's a choice that his mum made to move back to New Zealand.
Which is a terrible choice, but also just to like not allow him to meet his dad.
It's awful. And I do not have any nice things to say about her because I think that's a terrible thing to do.
It is a terrible thing. And I'm a woman and I'm saying it's a terrible thing.
I don't think that he is a perfect person.
None of us are.
None of us are. And I know for a fact, because he was one of my closest friends at the time, that he was going through a lot of shit because of like separation and stuff, and his mental health wasn't the best. And there was also some external influences, which I'm not going to talk about from a legal standpoint, that were making his life hell. Now, his life has turned around, and I'm super proud of him for where he is. But at the time, he was struggling. And so, I don't know the depth of the context of the conversation or what it was or how it got to the point where she just went, you know what? Goodbye.
Yeah.
So I can't speculate. I wasn't there. But it's still, that's a massive thing to do. So.
That's huge. I could not imagine doing that. I could not imagine being pregnant and like leaving a country.
Yeah.
Like I know my friend probably, or not really friends anymore, but probably would have liked to have done that at the time, and then she had to fight.
If you were like, I found out my partner's a serial killer.
That's different.
Yeah, or he beats me on the regular, or he's verbally abusive. This guy's not that kind of person. He's not abusive. He's not a terrible person. So
she just sounds like an awful person.
Oh, I think she was just like. She just wanted to be with her family.
So I worked with a woman who told me the story of her son. So her son was dating this girl for just a couple of months, and then she got pregnant, and then she said, I don't want to be with you anymore. And so pretty much got pregnant because she wanted a baby, because she was at that age where everyone was having babies and rah-rah. So she got pregnant and they were not together, and she pretty much, then she had this friend in her ear saying, don't let him see the baby, fortunately, he must have seen a lawyer, but he just kept trying. He's managed to managed to see the child. And then I think she realized how hard it is with a newborn. And so then reached out, because at first her family were like, no. And now the grandparents, like the father's parents, now they've got he's got proper custody. But just, it could have gone very badly.
Yeah, I think people overlook that as well, where you've got that, parent or grandparent or someone.
Or friend
someone
even.
Who's going, don't let him see the kids, or don't do this, because, you need to get half of his shit. And don't let him see the kids until he agrees to sell the house and give you half, or until he agrees to do this. And sometimes financial shit, as you well know, it needs to be sorted out. Yeah. But it's got nothing to do with the kids.
No, it doesn't. And in the case of me, and I won't go into it too much, but I've never stopped him from seeing the kids. I've never held finance, and been.
You encourage it.
Yeah. I encourage it. Next level, encourage it. Yeah.
Well, you need a freaking break once in a while, we all
sometimes,
do. Yeah. Mate, sometimes I feel guilty just on that. You're like, where you go, woohoo, child-free weekend, And then I think, people who are in relationships, married relationships, they don't get child-free weekends. But then I think, well, hang on a second.
They don't, but they get to go your turn.
Yeah, they get to go, I'm going down to do the grocery shopping, and can the kids stay home with you?
Yeah.
Or I'll take the kids down to the footy, and so you can sit at home and nap. Or while you're at the gym, me and the boys are going to go to footy practice or whatever.
Yeah, they don't have to go, I really need to go and get the groceries, but that means I've got to take both the kids in the car with me. That's all I'm ever thinking.
And then when you get people like me where I don't have a family support network.
Yeah, I'm lucky I do.
And, and then when it comes to things like, if I need a babysitter, I've got one, but thankfully she's amazing.
Yeah.
But she's not always available,
No.
But I don't get me having a break is like my once a fortnight weekend. And of course now it's 50-50. So I do get that entire week where it's just me. But it's work nights.
Yeah.
All I'm going to do is go to work, edit the podcast.
Yeah.
And if I'm healthy and fit, work out.
Yeah.
That's really all I'm doing anyway on a weeknight.
Do you know, like, I don't want to, sorry, I'm not going to bash marrieds, but I will for a second.
The marrieds.
But I will quickly. So, like, this one girl says to me, "Oh, I'm pretty much the same as you." And I went, "Oh,
Really?
like, you're a single mum?" And she's like, "No, but my husband works all day." I'm like, "Oh, like 7 to 7?" She's like, "No, he works 9 to 5." You know, and like by the time he gets home, he's really tired, and then it's pretty much the same. And then he'll often do like he goes to the gym on the weekends, and she's like, "I'm pretty much the same as you." And I'm like,
We are not the same.
You? With your 2 incomes and your husband, and in the end, if you're sick, he will look after the kids because he's your husband, or like he'll pick them up from school, or he's just your husband. So I had that,
so
and I was
he's
just
just doing he's doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can. And then I had another friend say to me the other day, she goes, "Oh," because I was complaining about like, you know, going through like what I'm going through with Adrian, just the whole process, we blank his name out.
Yep.
She goes, then she was telling me about her in-laws and her sisters-in-law and she goes, "You know, I feel like what I'm going through is worse than what you're going through." And I was like, just breathe, Skye.
I feel like my
breathe.
severed leg is worse than your deafness.
Yeah.
I'm going through a thing and you're going through a
Yeah.
thing, but my thing is worse.
Worse.
Oh my God.
I was just like, I hate it when people who like are married try and go, "Oh, I'm like you, Skye."
I understand. No, you're not.
Yeah.
We are
But
not
when
the same.
someone's like, "Oh, what you're going through," no, I'm going through way more.
I've been a bit like that. I feel like when I talk about how bad COVID was for me, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm like that person who, like, you know, when you go, "Oh, you know, I got the flu and it was really bad."
Yeah.
Then they go, "Well, when I got the flu,
Yeah.
I nearly died," and you're just like, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah, that's totally.
I'm like, that's me at the moment, but I was really, really
You
sick.
were.
So
You were
it's
really
like,
sick.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
It's like when women compare birth stories.
Yes,
you know,
I was
like,
in labour for 14 hours. Well, really, I was in labour for 3 days.
And I'm like, "Well, I wasn't. I was in labour, and then they had to cut me open."
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
ridiculous.
that's
Like,
it.
let's all just be grateful we have beautiful babies.
Yeah. Let's like. I'm not a woman, so I need to think about the way that I was about to
Okay.
support each other.
Yeah.
There is nothing better than women giving each other support.
Yeah.
Women tearing each other down.
But they do it.
Is the shittest.
We're
We know
very
we
bad at
live
it.
in a patriarchal society, and that's undeniable. It's hard enough being a woman without pulling each other down.
But we do.
Yeah.
It's really awful. Do you know one time I was talking to a midwife and she goes, "Oh, did you have a natural birth?" I'm like, "No, I had a cesarean." She's like, "Oh, shame." And I'm like, "Shame?
What?
What the fuck?" Like, I went through like labor and had a cesarean where, you know, they basically cut you in half. Shame. I feel like just the fact that my child is beautiful and alive is a good thing.
Yeah, and then there's the like, "Oh, you only breastfed for 6 months? Oh, I did it for 2 years."
Well, I did.
You know, like, great. Some women can, some
Yeah.
women can't.
Oh,
you know?
you did disposable nappies.
Yeah.
I did cloth.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, washing that shit through the
I did
pipes in your
cloth.
washing
I
machine.
did do cloth. I'm a legend.
Yeah. You love the environment, but yeah, I'd rather not have poop in my washing machine.
You know what? I did it with Joshua and Benjamin. I just went, no, I'm just going disposables.
I was telling Billy this story the other day because I love telling her stories about when she was a baby. Like, you know how they're just so gross.
They are gross.
So there was one time because Billy was incredibly tiny, right? So I could kind of like she was about as big as my forearm, really.
Yeah.
She only
not my
weighed about
boys.
2 kilos.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember one time she'd only been home for maybe a week or so, and I was needed to change her, and because she was so small, she was like 4 zeros. Right?
Oh, she was tiny.
And so
yeah, like Prem almost. Was she Prem?
No, she was
Just really
she was just
little.
undersized
Yeah.
because of like the issues during the pregnancy and
Yeah.
the hypermesis gravidarum and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And she lost 200 grams in utero in the last 2 weeks.
gosh.
So she had to be induced on
Yeah.
day like week 40, the due date. She
Yeah,
was induced.
yeah.
But anyway, so she was very little. so her nappies, even the smallest size, didn't really fit well, right?
Oh gosh.
So I remember an incident where she's sharted basically, and it's gone up her back, down both her legs. It was everywhere, in
Baby's
front,
lovely.
back, inside and out. So I've just picked her up and gone to the basin in
Yeah.
the bathroom.
Dipped her.
And just like turned the tap
Yeah.
on and just like rinsed her under the tap.
Yeah,
Like,
that's all you can do.
just like held her there. And I was like held her by the legs and my hand under her shoulders and just kind of put her in there and splashed her and washed her. And I was just laughing because she was as small as a doll.
Yeah.
Like, so I could actually get her in the hand
That is-
basin.
'cause I
Hand
could have
basins
done
aren't
that.
big.
Yeah, I could have done that with my
Yeah.
boys. They were like 4.5 kilos.
Yeah, and I was
each.
telling her,
Yeah.
I washed you in the hand basin. I said,
That is so
that's it. When
funny.
she's like, oh, really? That's funny. And I'm like, yeah, it was real funny for me.
Yeah,
like, you-
hilarious.
milky shit everywhere.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
I said I should have just taken you outside and hit you with the hose or
Yeah,
something.
hosed
But
her off, yeah.
she's like, oh, that's gross. And I'm like, and one day you'll be a parent. So enjoy that. But
Yeah.
the poops, the vomits.
Oh, just
It's
everything.
great. You
Yeah.
you're used to it. Hey, speaking of parenting.
Yeah, go.
I want to read this post that a Facebook friend posted like a week or so ago. So it's a couple of paragraphs, but I'm
Okay.
going to read it in full. So I've got more notifications on my relationship rules post. Oh, look at that. More people have commented. Oh, no, and Karen's commented because she's made a post about religion and I was just making
Oh,
fun.
I saw that one. Yeah, about Scientology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We won't talk about religion.
No,
but
let's not. But we feel the same way, thank goodness.
It's not necessary. Just had the Start again. Wet my lips. Just had the unfortunate and unpleasant experiencing. Holy shit. Beep. Just had the unfortunate and unpleasant experience. I can't even talk. Give me a drink.
Do you need me to read this or
No,
you're
it's
okay?
all right. I got it. I'll try again. Just had the unfortunate and unpleasant experience of witnessing a full-grown man have a full-blown tantrum at the local swimming pool. His anger was directed at his partner. He and his son were in my son's baby swimming class whilst this man's partner lovingly watched on. Anyway, after the lesson, everyone's gotten themselves and their babies dressed. Like, so it's she's
baby.
there with a baby's swimming dress. Granted, not as an easy task.
Never.
But side note, luckily for him, he only had to dress himself as wifey took care of the wet squirmy baby.
Yeah.
She's very descriptive language. So luckily for him, he only had to dress himself as wifey took care of wet squirmy baby. He walks outside shoeless to find her and baby and pram and is clearly flustered as she looks stunned. His face says it all. He's like basically livid. He tells her sarcastically, yeah, I've got no shoes, as she fumbles under the pram to pass his thongs from the underbasket up to him. He continues with, you normally wait on the indoor couches. Poor man had to walk outside with no shoes on, as she apologises for his minor inconvenience and apologise. Oh my God.
I know.
Don't apologise. Apologises for his minor inconvenience and fumbles some more, this time at her breastfeeding singlet clip and bra. Poor Diddums had to walk a few metres sans shoes, and he had to look for her in a new spot.
No.
Oh my God. It's like, you're normally outside. I had to
know.
walk out here.
You're barefooted.
I had no shoes on and I didn't know where you were for like at least 5 seconds. I had to
He
look.
sounds like a toddler.
Yeah. He stands over her. Quite a tall man, because she's down there getting her shit together.
Yeah.
He stands over her, quite a tall man, as she's clearly a bit upset and trying to get this baby to latch. It was very hard to see. So she's focusing on feeding her hungry baby.
Yeah.
It was very hard to see and not say anything, as it's totally none of my business and not my place. I blame his mother. Clearly some enabling has occurred in his life. Imagine the bullshit behaviour he pulls at home behind closed doors
I
if
have
this
no
is
doubt.
his public routine. He deserves a good slap in the face. Come on, she's sitting there feeding his kid. What a bloody oath. Trying not to judge, but can't promise my son won't accidentally enthusiastically splash chlorine water in this man's direction, hopefully
Next
right into
time.
his eyes next week.
Yeah. Go her.
Accidentally. Yeah. There's a lot of comments, obviously, in support of her, and then she did comment later saying, went back this week and he was on his absolute best behaviour. So maybe when they got in the car, she's given
just
him a
went off.
spray.
Hopefully she did, yeah.
Because come on,
I mean, grow up.
be a little bit like
Although,
aware.
I remember my mum was saying that when she first married or got together with my dad, they were only that she had to tell him that if you leave your clothes on the ground, they won't get washed, because his mum had always picked all his clothes up, even when he was like 16, 17, 18, and like do all his washing and everything. She's like, that doesn't happen.
I saw a video once, and it's Kinney, the comedian. Have you seen him yet? So it was like he grabs his wife and he's like, so he's talking about the magic coffee table.
Oh,
right?
yes.
And he's like, check this out. Like, I've been doing a bit of like paying attention, but like this has been happening for a long time, and I just thought I'd mention it to you. But we've got a magic coffee table, and she's like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Well, every night I just leave my glasses and magazines and shit on this coffee table, and then the next day when I get home from work, they're all gone."
Yeah, it's magic.
And he goes, "And there's another thing." He's like, "Check this out. All my clothes, I chuck them in a pile over here in the corner, and then the next day, they're all neatly folded in this basket."
Magic.
I'm like, "Isn't that astounding?" And she's just like,
You're an idiot.
and just walks out. But yeah, that is that kind of like your whole life you've been dropping it in a basket. And like my mum was like, clean your damn room, put your clothes in your washing basket, get them to the laundry.
Yes.
Happy to watch. My dad did the laundry.
Yeah.
But like, just because he was home from work at that time, and
I explained that to the boys the other day, that yes, put your laundry in the basket in your room. You need to then actually transfer it to
when
the
it's
laundry
full,
basket.
transfer it to the
Because
laundry.
Josh was like, "Oh, I don't have this, I don't have that." I'm like, "Oh, is it in your laundry basket?"
Yeah.
Because I'm not emptying it anymore, Josh.
Yeah, no, bring it out here. Yeah. My parents shared chores. Like,
So did
to
mine,
the point.
actually. Once my mum told him, they did too.
So, like, and then when you get old enough, your children do the chores.
Yeah.
So, like, I was mowing lawns, and, I had to light we had a whole...
I used to do all the ironing.
Yeah. I didn't have to iron. We had a wood hot water system, so I'd have to light that, lighting the inside fire. But Dad was like doing the laundry.
et cetera.
We all had to stack the dishwasher or do the dishes.
I think my mum, because mum's a nurse, so she worked a lot of like shift work, and so weekends sometimes she'd just work the whole weekend. So it'd just be Dad taking us to shopping, taking us to sport.
Yeah.
So,
Admittedly, Mum did everything inside the house. Like, I never saw Dad push a vacuum cleaner.
No,
I've never
I didn't
never
either,
seen.
actually.
Well, Dad would cook meals when Mum was like at bingo or off doing other things. So Mum was like the home keeper, the housekeeper.
When Mum, when we got old enough, we first would just, all she'd do is she'd peel all the potatoes and everything, and we'd have to turn it on, and we'd just have like a pie or a pasty.
Yep.
And then Dad got a little bit more advanced.
Yeah, okay. No, my dad, Dad was very demanding when Mum and Dad first got married, with like food on the table kind of thing. And eventually my mum's like, how about you get fucked?
Yeah.
Like, I run this entire house.
Yeah.
So no, Dad did all the outside stuff.
I think that's sort of how my
And then
parents were too.
and then I think because the laundry is outside, that's Dad's responsibility. I'm not quite sure, but Mum did all the inside stuff.
Yeah.
And then, like, of course, when Dad died, Mum's got this giant property, this house with this enormous backyard and all this stuff, and she's getting older, so it's like it's a lot to manage.
Yeah.
Mind you, like, Dad was really sick for a long time before he died, so she had to do it herself, and she was looking after him, and she was looking after my granddad, and like, a lot of burden of responsibility on her shoulders. But anyway, so that post, I just thought I'd read that because
I feel like I've seen that before. Like I said, I've seen so
public,
many moments like that, like just rude partners, and not just men, mainly men, but also I've seen like. I find a lot of women are quite aggressive though to their partners in public. It's quite insane.
I just think that like, and that's what I mean. This whole conversation we're having about parenting, it's not really gendered.
No.
It does seem to be, like I said, the way that I've done things over the last few years with the amount of care that I have for Billy, and even now, is a rarity, and I know that, and people are kind of like, and we'll just go, like, even I was asked recently, so where's the mum? Like, expecting that she's got some sort of issue, because that's normal. When it came down to, like, when I was, I got made redundant a couple of years ago, and after all my money had run out, because I had a lot.
Redundancy is a good like
I got a lot of money. I had like a year's pay to live on.
That sounds amazing.
So
did you just enjoy life?
Well, I took a year off and was a stay-at-home dad for a year.
So good.
And at the time, I was still living at my ex's house, like, because we'd separated, but I stayed there to support the two
Yeah.
of them.
Sorry, I'm just imagining a year of being. I've never been a stay-at-home mum.
It was
like
amazing. Yeah.
Well, I did, but I started my business when Joshua was like 5 weeks old,
Yeah.
and then I had a baby.
But
a
you were
newborn.
still doing your business.
Yes.
I was playing
No,
guitar.
I've never been a stay-at-home
I was
mum.
playing guitar, taking Billy to pre-primary.
I was doing that,
yeah.
but then the minute I got in the car, I'd be like, right, check emails, do that.
No, I just was.
I was checking emails after I had a baby.
Yeah, see, I was doing nothing.
Amazing.
I was like,
Someone be my sugar daddy, please.
I did lose 42 kilos.
I mean, that's
so it's
work.
not like I was doing nothing.
No, you were focused.
I was like going for very long walks.
There you go.
And eating very well. I wasn't lifting at that time, so I was like, you've seen the photos of me at 89 kilos, and I was
you were
a skinny
just like
man.
skinny.
Well,
Not skinny.
Skinny for me.
Yeah.
90 kilos is still like, there are men out there who are like going, 90 kilos, you're
Yeah.
not skinny.
No.
Like blokes at the gym, like Raj at the gym, he's 84. And
he's
I'm
like,
complaining about, and
Yeah.
he's like, for him, that's massive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 90 kilos, I'm so skinny. He'd just be like, fuck you, mate. So I'm still big.
When I was doing strongman, I got down to like 64 kilos. I was
Yeah.
talking to this coach when I started thinking about doing bodybuilding. I was like, yeah, I was 64 kilos. I still didn't have like a full six pack.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, well, that's because you still had too much body fat. And I'm like, oh my God, I was so hungry and like awful and sad.
So that photo I posted this week of me in the gym.
Yes.
that
that was hilarious.
Yeah, I was 105 kilos in that photo. So
Yeah.
not little.
No.
But take off 25 or 15 kilos from that.
But with no muscle. Because
With
you
no
weren't
muscle,
lifting.
no.
Yeah.
And you look at that photo of me sitting there playing the guitar, and people are like, what is he talking about? I might have to post them side by side.
Yes.
But I'll put a fat photo, a skinny photo, and a now photo.
Okay, do that.
But yeah, the muscle me versus skinny me, my arms are like twice the size. So you
Yeah.
can see where the extra 15 kilos is.
Yeah, muscle.
But
It's
anyway,
amazing.
yeah, going back, we get off with just talking about ourselves.
Yeah.
But getting back to, parenting, it's, I can't remember what I was saying. But
I don't know, but anyway,
Yeah.
it's. I don't think it's. It's not a gendered thing. I think some parents are just really awful.
Oh, that's what I was saying. I took the year off to be
Yeah,
a stay-at-home
yeah,
dad, and
yeah.
then we got distracted by what we're doing with my time, being fit,
Woo!
trying to be fit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I took that time off because I could, and then eventually, when I got to that point, because I'll be honest, they gave me $42,000 to leave. Which that's a bit of money.
Yeah.
And so I went, well, I could be a sensible human being and invest that money. I could have put it into buying a house or whatever and then gone straight into another job. But I'm like, no, I'm taking as much time off as
Seriously,
it takes.
I'm just imagining
and staying at home and being like Billy was 5. Just being there in that time of her life. And Mum and I had just separated.
Yeah.
I could also just be like, I had my own room in the house and like, yeah, we were living together, and people were like, that's a bit weird. I'm like, no, it
My parents did that
works.
for a while.
But then I was forced when I got to that point where I'm like, all right, I need to get a job, but I'm going to apply. I have to get a parenting payment because I've run out of money. So when I got down to, where I was eligible for Centrelink payments, I got parenting payment single, but then you got family tax A and B, right?
It's quite a good little salary.
So in order to get the family tax, you have to apply for child support, right? So they're like, you need to apply for child support. So I'm like, all right. So I put in my child support application, and then part of that process is you have to ring them and talk to the child support agency on the phone. I rang them. Can you shut up?
It's not my kids this time. It's good. It's your cat.
Trumpet, what the hell is he doing? At least he's not in a paper bag doing
That
laps
was
of the...
so funny. Nearly lost everything.
It's so funny. So just for context, there was a paper bag, shopping bag sitting on the ground. He got his head through one of the loops and
And he
then
went
did like
crazy.
4 laps of this
It was
room, knocking
great.
shit over. He knocked my guitar over. He
Yeah.
knocked a plant over.
He opened
Opened the blind
the
halfway.
blind.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, but
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, when I rang them, they were very kind of haughty with me, a little bit
yes.
standoffish. And then like, okay, so, who's, like basically they assume.
They assume you're going to be like, oh, I see them once a fortnight.
I haven't paid my child support
Yeah.
or something. And then I said, oh, yes, so I'm applying. And she's like, all right, okay. And then she looks at the file. She brings it up and she goes, oh, you're the applicant. I said, yeah. Because like my
Yeah.
ex earns more money. Like, I think I'd started work or whatever. I said, yeah, because my ex earns more money and I'm being forced. Like, I won't get the family tax because I'm unemployed. And I ended up getting a job very quickly because I'm quite employable. But I had to apply for child support just to be eligible for the family tax. And then
crazy.
When they realised that I was the one getting the child support, the woman's like, I'm really sorry if I was rude to you, but normally when men ring up, it's because they're complaining or they've been forced to or something. And then there's like, sorry. And I'm like, yeah, I know women don't tend to make as much as men.
But occasionally.
Or if they do, they need the child support because they're the ones with the full-time custody, not the man. So, yeah.
This has got nothing to do with child support, but I've been listening to this random podcast about dating apps and how, like, women are having to lie about their job because apparently they're so intimidating, men aren't matching with them.
My response, women, you are not intimidated. No, sorry, you are not intimidating. They are intimidated. That's their problem, not yours.
That's their problem.
It's like going back to your sister.
Yeah.
If she intimidates men by being direct, they're not the man for her.
Right, exactly.
If a man is intimidated by you, then fuck them off.
Yeah, it was just interesting. This one woman was like, I'm an aeronautical space engineer doing my PhD and no one matches on me. She goes, she changed her job to waitress and not saying waitresses aren't amazing. They are. Like, the service industries are amazing, but the fact that guys are so pathetic that they can't match with an aeronautical space engineer.
I'm going to read this. Sent this to you.
Oh, yeah.
I like when men explain basic things to me because in my mind, it's not mansplaining. It's more like when a toddler is really excited to tell you about dinosaurs and you're like, oh, that's so right, cutie. You're so smart. Only one of us is being condescending and it's me.
Yes.
So just before we wrap up, because we're getting to the end of it.
Can't believe it.
I want to talk about, I started to tell you about last night. I took myself out to dinner, right?
Yes.
I took myself out, sitting at the bar, and this woman's come up next to me, and she's like, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, cool, I'm good." And she goes, "Not hitting on you, just waiting for a couple of friends to rock up." And and she just started talking, and then she said, "Oh, look, you're a really handsome man," and blah blah blah. She goes, "They're not hitting on you. Look, I'm happily married. Just so you know, I'm not hitting on you." And I'm like, you don't need to say that because I don't assume that you are. And she's like, oh, I know, but I just feel like, men get the wrong impression. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that. And she's like, oh, because, also because you're so much younger than me. And I'm like, how old do you think I am? And I told her and she's like, oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
You don't look that old. Because I'm quite old. But it's, and I just said, well, that's the patriarchy in play right there, because what you're doing is, as a woman, you're being portrayed to be like, because you're an older woman, right?
Man-eater.
Yeah. Like she's like, she goes, I think that men think that like I'm just trying to hit on them because when I'm at a bar by myself, then that's what I'm doing.
That's why I worry about talking to some of my friends' husbands in case they think I'm trying to steal their husbands.
And I'm like, that's not a you problem. That's a man problem. That's the men that you've spoken to, the younger men, just going, I've seen Stifler's mum. She's obviously up for
Milf.
it. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Milf,
this woman's up for it.
Yeah.
Just speaking of that, the actress, I can't remember what her name is.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Jennifer, someone or other. Yes. Eldridge or...
I don't know, but she has just said in a recent interview that after she played Stifler's mum, because she wasn't a well-known actress before then, she played Stifler's mum, and then she slept with 200 men after that.
Good for her.
I was like, go, girlfriend.
Yeah, I bet they're all 30 too.
Yeah. She's just
Stifler's mum.
She's like, she said, I'd never had men. Like, she goes, I know I just became an object for a lot of men, but she's like, fuck it.
Why not? I would do the same, I think. Why not?
200 men wanted me, so awesome.
Yeah.
Because she, like, what, in her 50s?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Was,
yeah. Jennifer Coolidge.
I don't know. I'm probably lying. She's probably much younger or older, but who knows?
In that movie, I think say she would have been in her 40s.
Possibly,
they were teenagers.
Yeah. Well, they're meant to be teenagers, but yeah.
Well, they were in their mid-20s.
It's like, what's his name? Beverly Hills 90210.
Oh, Brandon. Luke Perry. He was like 32 playing a 17-year-old.
Or John Travolta in Grease. You know?
Or the girl that played Andrea.
Yep.
Andrea was that? Yeah, she was like the same, like 28, 29.
Yeah,
like
or just watch Grease and all the guys have got
they're all
stubble.
30, aren't they?
Yeah, and then Rizzo's like,
She was like 33 or something.
teenagers. Yeah. But anyway, so it's I just kind of went, that is because society is you just think that men are just sex crazed because that's what you encounter. And she's like, well, it is. And I said, well, I'm not going, I don't think you're hitting on me. It's quite okay to talk to people. And I referenced you. I mentioned the podcast and they instantly went and looked it up. So hopefully they're listening. But I said, look, men and women can quite easily be friends without needing to hit on each other.
Yeah,
you know, like...
Can I tell my quick story? So one of my friends, I was having a bit of a whinge. I'm like, I'm always a single mum and they all just, no one wants to hang out with me because, you know, they're worried. And she's like, just so you know, my husband thinks you're awesome and loves hanging out with you. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. And like apparently he never says that about most of her friends because I'm so used to being me and hanging out. And also I'm a boy mum. I think that makes a difference.
Oh, sorry, got another comment. Like,
go.
It's what she, like on the marriage one.
Oh,
it's what she wants. So as my mother used to say, don't let that fella waste your time.
Oh,
I disagree. Damien, I disagree. I hope you never marry with that attitude.
You better not marry.
You would waste anyone's time. Look,
you don't want to get married.
I don't care. Well, I'd love to, but being married, having a wedding sounds rad. That'd be cool.
Weddings are awesome.
That'd be great.
I was a princess.
I'd be happy to get married, but you know what? I'm not going to go, I don't want to be with you if you don't want to get married.
No.
There's other things like different. Like I was talking to a girl like a couple of years ago who she was saying she was with a guy for 3 years and when they met, he was like, oh yeah, no, we'll have kids one day and it'll be great and stuff, right? And then not the day they met, but like early on, agreed, because she was like very important to her because within their 20s, like she was like 26, 27. She's like, yeah, no worries. Then she gets to like 28, 29. And he's like, oh, yeah, I don't know, I'm not really, don't have kids. So she broke up with him, right? Because he asked her to marry him. And she's like, are we going to have kids? And he's like, oh, no. And she's like, all right, see ya.
Yeah.
And she goes, and that broke her heart because she really loved him, but he never wanted to have children. And so she's like, well, I'm not yet 30. I think she was 27 or 28 when she broke up with him.
She had time.
She's like, I'm not yet 30, so therefore I can go and be with a man who actually wants to have children with me. And whilst some people, it's the same kind of thing, like, oh, he break up with someone who doesn't want to marry you. No, it's not the same. Having children is completely different to being married.
Yeah.
Like she didn't need to be married. She was happy to not be married, but she really, really wanted to be a mum.
Yeah.
And if the other person doesn't want it,
something super important to you, like to not, because children, you can't, particularly with women, we only have a small period of time, and it's then gets very
I think I
expensive.
did the maths on it. So, on average, what age do girls start ovulating? Let's say, well, for Billy it was 10 or 9.5, but yeah.
Let's say 11.
Okay. And then you generally, menopause kicks in 45,
anytime.
50.
More like 50.
50. Let's say 50.
Yep.
So let's say for 40 years, okay, you can produce eggs. You only get to do 12 a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
On average, sometimes less.
Even,
Okay. So let's say you have 12 periods a year. Okay. So you get 12 eggs for 40 years. Okay. So you have 480 eggs.
But you don't. You're born with hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, but you only have 480 of them that are active.
Yeah.
Right. So you only get 480 opportunities to have a baby.
I know, whereas like,
right? And that's from a medical point of view.
Sperm?
We have a medical point of view. You don't start having babies when you're 11.
No.
Right? So let's cut out
10
years. Well, no,
20.
8.
Let's say 20.
No, we'll say 7 years. We'll cut out 7 years because like you might, when you're 18, you might want to start having children.
Yeah, and some
right?
do.
So,
some are 15.
So let's take that out. Yeah. Okay. So let's take that out and we'll say, so of your 40 years, we'll cut it down to 30, what do we say, 33 years.
Okay.
But then you also don't want to have children when you're in your 50s necessarily.
No.
So you might say, let's say the cutoff.
45.
45. Well, let's say 40 because I think that like we're averaging because there might be women who
Fine.
older, but on average 40.
40.
Okay. So now that cuts off another 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
we've cut off 17 years off our 40. So it's now 23 years of 12 ovulations a year means that 276 opportunities to have a child. Right. Now, we're also got to take into account the amount of time you're single or the amount of time that you don't want
27.
The amount of time you don't want to have a child. You're not in a position to have a child. So your actual opportunity to have a child may be 30 to 50 times in your entire life where you can actually realistically within your intention and medically and everything else and financially and everything else being in place. I mean, let's not talk about accidental pregnancies. That's different. But for the intention of being pregnant,
the window
is small.
Yeah.
So I can understand for her where if a man, when she's in that time where she's like approaching 30 and going, oh no, I don't want to have kids. Well, I really do. Yeah, sure. Move on.
Well, that's pretty much what happened with me. I found out I had endometriosis at 29 and I had my operation, and then the specialist was like, I suggest you try and get pregnant because I don't know if you're going to be able to. We don't know until you try. Now you're so clean and everything's been done. You're good to go right now. And so I just had to say to Adrian, and he's like, okay. And I did. I got pregnant immediately.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what was going to happen. And he could have said, oh, no, bad timing. And I would have been like, well, see you later.
Yeah.
Because I knew I wanted children.
That's right. But it's completely different to, I've been with you for 7 years and if you don't marry me, I'm out of here.
Seriously,
well, if
everyone needs to watch that ultimatum show on Netflix.
If you love someone enough to be with them for 7 years and you don't want to be with them anymore,
you're an asshole.
Well, no, I mean, just for that. If there's got to be more reasons for it than just you don't want to marry me.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
so
sure.
what? Like, you know what? I don't care. You could be together for 20 years and then go, you want to get married? Yeah, let's just do that. You know, go for your life. You can get married in the first 6 months if you want. Maybe not the best idea, but go for your life. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Other people's rules are other people's rules.
It's ridiculous. Can I just talk quickly about this new reality show I've just found?
Of course.
It's terrible. It is where it's basically The Bachelor, but there's 2 men and like 20 women, but one's a millionaire and one is basically like,
I thought you were going to say they have to fight. Something like
wouldn't that be awesome? To the death. Yeah. It's the gladiator version of The Bachelor. No, one's like a millionaire or billionaire and one's like a garbage collector, but they don't know which is which. And so
is it like Joe Millionaire where he's not actually a millionaire?
Yeah, but it's like, but you might get the millionaire, but you might not.
Oh.
So one girl's going to get the millionaire and the other one's going to get poor boy.
Yeah.
And then she's going to be like, oh, yeah.
You know what the best, I won't use the term reality TV, but the best relationship game show.
Perfect Match?
No.
Oh,
the absolute best relationship game show is Beauty and the Beast, or Beauty and the Geek, sorry.
My mum loves that show.
It's so good.
Yeah,
because it's like a real glow up for those boys.
Yes, it is.
And it also it changes those girls as well.
It does actually.
Because they become really like
normal.
I think
nice.
On the outset, they're like, oh, these are shallow bitches, but they're not really. I think they choose them well. Like these are people who are actually really genuine people, but they just in their lifestyles they just don't display that. But then when they're put in a position, they are actually really caring people. And I
point out some of those they aren't like geeks or nerds, and they're not like astrophysicists. Sometimes they just really like Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just really like, I live in my basement, my mum's basement, I have a neckbeard.
Yeah.
You know, like
they're fine.
Cool. They're normal people.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not fedora wearing bloody, incels.
No, they're just like, just a bit, they just haven't had a lot of like life skills.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful show. I think Billy and I actually, we got to finish, but Billy and I watched... what is it? Snowflake Mountain on Netflix.
I can't do it. I started watching it. I can't do it.
We watched the whole series. No, it's not, because it's another. It actually is. No one gets eliminated. Oh. Right? They are all in it till the end, and then they pick a winner amongst them.
Okay, I'll watch it then, because I was like, we haven't even got snowflakes. That's not very nice. But
these people need to have a go.
Okay.
These are all very like sheltered, privileged kids, and they're in their early 20s.
That one where they all go to the ranch and they have to be like, that one. Have you ever seen that? Where they're like really like rich people go to the ranch and have to like learn to like be cattle people.
Well, that's what this is. They get chucked on this mountain.
This is from the 90s.
Yeah. So this is basically there's these 2 survival expert guys, right, and they're told they're going to a resort, right? So they're all glammed up and they've got all their best clothes in their suitcases and they've got all their like electrical things and stuff. Yeah. And then they're driving up this mountain in the back of like Land Rovers.
Yeah.
And then they just stop and they're like, okay, get out. And then the Land Rovers drive off and they're just standing there in the middle of the wilderness going, what the hell is going on?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to watch it.
And then these 2 guys rock up and they're like, yeah, okay, so you got to survive. And then they get their luggage and they're like, oh, just leave it here. You got to walk to the camp. So they walk to the camp, right? And then they're like, okay, everyone come down here. And all their luggage is in the back of a trailer and they blow it up.
Oh, okay, I need to watch it.
It's so good. And then and then like it is a real there are, I mean, I won't tell you what happens, but
no, don't tell me. I'm going to watch it.
It is quite, it's good.
Okay.
It does work out well. I mean, but at first for you, like, oh, these bloody people.
Yeah, well, that's what
but
I thought.
it does,
I was like, oh, that's a bit harsh on snowflakes. Like, what are we saying? But
no,
now,
but
okay,
some,
sounds great.
Some kids, like, if Billy grew up like that would be my fault.
Yeah, and it totally is their
fault. And it's like you're enabling your kids if you're letting them get away with everything.
They're all doing that. A lot of parents are. This is probably another episode where we talk about enabling children to be useless.
To be shit people.
Yes.
And that's the thing. These aren't shit people.
No.
They do treat people like shit, but that's because they're self-centered. They're like, they're cash me outside kids, right?
Yes.
And that's what they are. And they're just little dickheads.
Yeah, there's lots of them out there.
They're not. You know, deep inside, once they put in that situation where it's like, you need to learn to fend for yourself and you need to, the most important thing, support each other.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you will die.
There's all these kids, their parents are basically giving them a rental or buying them a house and buying them a car and then, and they've never experienced life.
The contradictory thing of this show is that it's the parents who send them there.
Oh.
And so they're sitting on the couch and they're like, yeah, my daughter's such a stuck-up little bitch and all she does is party and she has no respect for us and stuff.
Fault.
And I'm sitting there just going, yeah, it's probably your fault.
Yeah.
Not entirely, but it's like, why didn't you do something about this? Why did you wait till they were 23?
Why didn't you make them get a job?
Like, all he does is sit on the couch all day, and then he goes out partying. And then it's like...
Stop giving them money.
Yeah. And then, but it'll be like the dad sitting there going... So it's got the dad and the mum, and the dad goes, yeah... She just gives him whatever he wants.
Oh, there you go.
And just staring deadpan at the camera. And you're like...
oh, my God, stop. I need to watch this show. I need to watch it. I'm meant to be going out to dinner with friends now. I'm like, maybe I should just cancel and watch. Yeah. I'm not going to.
Anyway, speaking of cancelling, let's cancel this episode. Let's not cancel because that's a negative word these days. Don't cancel us.
No.
Fucking cancel culture, is it real?
Yeah, cancel culture is awful.
But anyway, that's the end of things. Thank you very much for your time and coming all this way to the norths. And my cat was very entertaining and I wish we caught that on video.
I know, it would have been amazing.
But anyway.
I'm from the south. I'm here in the north. Okay, bye.
Thank you, bye. If I never let you go, then I never ever know just how good it feels without you. Now I just write songs about you because I never ever want to let it go, but then I didn't want her back. But there's nothing quite like letting go to get you back on track. If I never let you go, then I never ever know just how good it feels without you. Now I just write songs about you because I never ever wanted to let it go, but then I didn't want her back. But there's nothing quite like letting go to get you back on track. Yeah, I never ever want to Thank you for listening to In My Lounge Room. Intro music written and performed by Damien McKay. This week's outro song performed by Damo's band 12 Inch Shifter, written by Damien McKay and Chris Butcher.